Transitioning to College: The Differences Between High School and College. Presented by Minnesota State Colleges and University staff, including Joyce Kushel, Disability Services, St. Cloud State University.
Andrea Belisle, Disability Coordinator, Central Lakes College.
Marilyn Weber, Director of Academic Support, South Central College.
Debbie Tillman, Disability Services Director, Normandale Community College.
If you thought going from elementary school to high school was a big change, get ready. The difference between high school and college can be overwhelming, but it can also be very exciting. In college, you have the freedom to become your own person, in charge of what you do. You also have responsibilities and accountabilities. The key is to understand the differences so that you are prepared for them. The following information is a comparison between high school and college. Not every possible area or scenario has been covered, but there is enough information so you can get a strong sense of how college operates.
High school versus college at a glance. Attending high school is mandatory and usually free. However, attending college is a choice you can make for yourself and can oftentimes be very expensive. While attending high school, your time throughout the day is structured by others. Your classes are mostly picked for you and planned out according to the school's requirements. In college, you are in charge of your own time. You can pick out your classes usually during a time that fits in your schedule. You may have the option of taking classes all on the same days of the week or spread them out over the entire week. There may also be options for evening classes. High school graduation requirements are usually set by the state, and you must abide by those requirements. College graduation requires you to be responsible for making sure you are taking the right classes towards your major's requirements. You will usually have an advisor who can work through this with you, but ultimately, you are responsible for making the right choices. When you are in high school, you are corrected by your teachers or others if your behavior is out of line. In college, you must take responsibility for your own actions. You should also know the Student Code of Conduct, which applies to all students, and the fact that there are repercussions for your actions.
High school versus college classes. When you are in high school, you will usually spend 6 hours each day in class. Required classes will be the same for all students, and your choices will be limited. You will probably be able to do most of your studying in class while you are in high school. When you're attending college, you will normally attend class between 16 and 18 hours per week. Classes are usually offered on alternating days. Some may meet 3 days a week, and others meet only 2 days a week. You may have classes that are offered only in the evenings. Classes will be based on your chosen field of study, and the requirements for each field will vary greatly. You will do most of your studying outside of class, and you should plan on spending at least 2 to 3 hours of study time per each hour you are in class.
There are even more differences between high school and college when you consider the teachers and their teaching styles. Professors are very different from the teachers that you are used to from high school. In high school, teachers usually check to make sure that you've completed your homework and would usually assign grades or bonus points for this work. When you attend classes in high school, your teachers will remind you of incomplete work, approach you if they feel you will need help, and present you with information you missed if you were absent. They are trained in teaching methods to assist all students in learning. Teachers in high school will present material to help you understand what is in the textbooks. In high school, teachers generally follow the book by the letter and test you only on that information. They will often write information on the board to be copied in your notes. In high school, you will be reminded regularly of assignments, due dates, and tests. The teachers you have in high school bear much of the responsibility for your learning.
College professors have different teaching styles than the teachers you have in high school. Professors will not always remind you of incomplete work. Professors are usually open and helpful, but if you need help, you will need to initiate contact with your professor during their office hours to ask for assistance. The professors you have in college are trained as experts in their particular field of study. They may not follow textbooks. You are expected to read on your own, and the lectures that are presented are done to enhance the information from your book. Professors may lecture nonstop and expect you to identify the important information on which to take notes. It is important to understand that good notes are a must. You will be expected to read, save, and refer to your course syllabus constantly to keep track of due dates for readings, assignments, and test dates. You bear the responsibility for your learning, while your professors will serve as guides, mentors, and resources.
Another major difference between high school and college will be the amount of time you will be studying on your own in college. In high school, you will likely read short assignments that are then discussed in class. You are told what you need to learn and will have assigned readings. Typically in high school, students spend approximately 35 hours per week in the classroom and report that they spend an average of 5 hours per week on homework. Once you are in college, you will be given large amounts of reading and writing that may never be discussed in class. It is up to you to understand what must be learned from the reading assigned. Lectures and assignments are given with the understanding that you have already done the readings. In college, students spend approximately 15 hours per week in the classroom and report that they spend an average of 30 hours per week studying. It is important for you to realize that you must plan to spend not 1, but at least 2 hours outside of each class on homework in college if you want to be successful. Therefore, you will be spending approximately 15 hours in the classroom and 30 hours outside of class studying, equaling at least 45 hours per week. Yes, college is a full-time job.
Tests in high school generally cover very small amounts of material and are given in conjunction with homework to arrive at your overall grade. Your teachers may rearrange test dates to avoid conflicts with outside events. They frequently conduct review sessions to make sure you understand the materials covered on the test. Mastery is usually seen as the ability to reproduce what you were taught.
In college, testing is usually infrequent and covers large amounts of cumulative material. Unlike high school, makeup tests, handing in late assignments, or extra credit are rarely options. Many students report that they did very little studying for tests in high school. In college, you will not be able to get away with this if you expect to do well. Your professors will schedule tests without regard to outside activities. They seldom do review sessions, but when they do, you will be expected to be an active participant. Mastery is often seen as the ability to apply what you have learned to new situations or solve new kinds of problems.
Grading in high school and college are another set of major differences. In high school, you are given a grade for most assigned work. Good homework grades can help to raise poor test grades. You may be given opportunities for extra credit assignments to help raise your grades. Sometimes initial tests are not counted, especially if your grade is low. You may graduate from high school as long as you have passed required courses with a grade of D or better.
Grading in college will differ greatly from what you have seen in high school. You may be given assignments that may or may not be graded. Tests and major papers will provide the majority of your grades, but may be lowered if homework or papers are not done. Extra credit is usually not an option in college. The initial exam given in class reveals expectations of the instructor and is usually part of your final course grade. You may graduate only if your average in all classes meets the departmental and university standard. Typically, a 2.0 or C average or better is needed.
We have discussed the general differences that students will experience in college versus high school. Now, let's look more closely at the differences between K-12 and post-secondary disability law.
The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act is the law that governs special education in the K-12 system. Students are guaranteed a free and appropriate public education, FAPE. The post-secondary aspect of the 504 Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, are the laws under which disability services operate in the college setting.
Students receive special education services based on identified needs, which are detailed in the evaluation that is conducted every 3 years, whereas formal special education services end once a student graduates from high school. High school special education students who exhibit behaviors that are not allowed by all students may have the behavior attributed to the disability. College students that exhibit behaviors that break the code of conduct are held accountable for their actions and may face repercussions. College students with or without a disability are expected to meet the essential educational, behavioral, and general college standards.
In high school, case managers communicate with teachers the accommodations and modifications that are listed in the IEP, and the case manager oversees all of the services available to the student. College students who wish to receive disability services must request accommodations through the Disability Services Office and follow the procedures to receive services. Modifications are usually not implemented.
High school parents are a part of every aspect of their son or daughter's educational planning, including being their child's advocate. At college, schools cannot communicate with parents without student permission, and students must be their own advocate when they have an educational concern or need.
High schools are required to provide a new special education assessment every 3 years, whereas colleges are not required to provide assessments. High school services may include specially designed instruction and curriculum modifications. Only reasonable accommodations are required in the post-secondary environment.
Regular IEP meetings are conducted each year to discuss a high school special education student's needs and progress. Many personal services are available and paid for by the high school during the regular school day. Students in college need to monitor their own progress in a class, and they are responsible for their own medical and personal services that are paid for by the student.
High school personnel will find you and implement the services and supports students will receive, which could include special classes or other services. In college, students must request help when it is needed from disability services, and your accommodations will not be implemented without your knowledge or by sending your documentation to disability services only.
An evaluation is provided for special education students every 3 years, which is information written by the high school staff. An IEP is developed from the evaluation, and all of the documents and testing are provided by the district. At college, you are usually requested to provide documentation of your disability to the Disability Services Office that meets the college's guidelines. Most disability offices will accept the last 3-year evaluation and last IEP as sufficient documentation from the high school in order to receive disability accommodations. But if a new evaluation is needed, it is paid for by the student.
All the services implemented in the K-12 system are provided through mandated funding for personnel and services. Colleges will provide reasonable accommodations free of charge, but special services, including transportation, are not provided. Tutoring is not a disability accommodation, but it is a service provided to all students at most colleges.
To conclude, high school special education's goal is to fit the environment to the student with the ultimate objective of success for all students. In contrast, college disability services provide access to courses, activities, and the physical space, but it is up to the student to be an active participant in their education in order for success to be achieved. We encourage students to reach out to disability services and to explore the options for access to the college environment.
Success in college depends on a clear understanding of your role in the teaching and learning process. As a member of your college community, expect to be challenged, expect to grow and succeed. It is the choices and decisions which you make which will determine the success of your college experience.